Hello, everybody. My name is Dakota. I am making kind of a hodgepodge of videos. You might notice as I go further along. I don't really have much videos posted yet, but this topic is one that's really close and personal to me, and it is about how I find the Bible unethical. And I will be doing this as a series. I will be breaking up every book in the Bible, and I will be reading what I have, which might not be the prettiest, and honestly, if I get more viewers, I will try to make this better quality. But right now, I just want this to be in the open. I want people to know this exists. I'm not concerned about quality, but if I get enough people coming in, I'll put some effort. Right now, I'm just recording on my phone, calling it good, reading off my computer. By the way, when I read the verses, it's going to be painful because I suck at reading. So if you want to just fast forward past whatever I'm reading, and just read it yourself, because I do list the verse, you can do that. But I am going to read it anyways, just for anybody who wants to actually listen. I will say I'm using the NIV version, and I know people are going to be like, King James Version is the correct version, and honestly, everyone will tell you a certain version is better than another, and honestly, from my understanding, it's not that great of a version, so I don't personally want to use it. I'm sure NIV there's probably a better version than NIV, but this is the one I know is going to be reliable. I will say with some of the more horrific things, I do double check it with the King James Version. So I occasionally am checking to see if they say the same thing, and they do. So with it, and I'm sure, before I continue, I'm sure there are going to be people who are going to want to tell me oh, you're just interpreting wrong. Everyone has arguments, but honestly, I'm putting this out there for people who really want to critically think about the Bible. You can decide if you agree with what I have to say for yourself or not, but this is just how I've interpreted the Bible, so take that as you will. Anyways, let's get started. Genesis 3:14 through 19. So the Lord God said to the serpent, because you have done this, cursed are you above all livestock and all wild animals. You will crawl on your belly, and you will eat dust all the days of your life. And I will put enmity between you and the woman, and between your offspring and hers. He will crush your head, and you will strike his heel. Shoot, I lost my place. Oh, gosh. Okay, there we are. I found it. Yeah, okay. To the woman he said, I will make your pains in childbearing very severe. With painful labor, you will give birth to children. Your desire will be for your husband, and he will rule over you. To Adam, he said, because you listened to your wife and ate fruit from the tree about which I commanded you, you must not eat from it. Cursed is the ground because of you. Through painful toil, you will eat food from it all the days of your life. Oh, wait, did I read that? Yeah, I did, okay. For the days of your life. It will produce thorns and thistles for you, and you will eat the plants of the field. By the sweat of your brow, you will eat your food until you return to the ground, since from it you are taken, for dust you are, and to dust you will return. Okay, so this is obviously the context for this is obviously Garden of Eden. They ate from the tree of knowledge, which God said, don't do that. So, yeah, we most anybody in the Western world is going to know what context this is. I don't feel like I need to actually explain it beyond just Garden of Eden, them committing the first sin, all that stuff. So what's the problem here? God's punishing them for the sin they did. Here's the problem. It's an excessive punishment. The punishment does not fit the crime. That is like if you told your child to not throw a ball in the house, and then because they broke something, as a result, you not only punish them, but you also force them to suffer for the rest of their life, and then you're also going to punish their offspring. Like you're going to be abusive to your kid for disobeying you. That is basically how this comes off. And first off, I want to even make the point that this is the tree of knowledge of good and evil, okay? Knowledge of good and evil. How could they know that disobeying God was evil if they didn't have knowledge of it beforehand? Because they didn't eat from the fruit. And then they realized, but once they ate from it, they could know that disobeying God was bad. They were basically had the minds of children for the most part. The Bible kind of insinuates that they were kind of made as adults, but they kind of have the mind of children. They don't have it. And not only that, but the serpent didn't lie when it was trying to convince them of why not eat this. And he told them it will be, you'll have knowledge of good and evil just like God. And he also said you wouldn't die, which they didn't, at least not right away. And the way God had made it sound in the beginning was like, if you eat this, you're gonna die right away. It didn't specify, like, you will not be able to live forever. It didn't specify, as some people try to argue, they died spiritually. It did not specify that. So you are kind of left with the assumption that it's meant to be like die immediately, and they did not. So the serpent really didn't even lie to them. He just told them the facts. And so basically, because they disobeyed God, and let's assume that like, okay, let's punish these people. Is eating a fruit that you told them really, like, worthy of making them suffer? Like, I can understand maybe, like, maybe banned from the garden or something like that. Like, I mean, that's kind of reasonable, if it was just that by itself, because you would kick somebody out of your, out of a building if they broke something, or and sometimes people aren't even that excessive with punishment, but like, if someone told you not to do something and you did it, you just get kicked out. That's how society works. Us as humans, we're flawed beings. A perfect God should be able to have the ability to not give as excessive punishments as us as flawed people. But he not only makes the serpent suffer, and the woman suffer with childbirth, but their offspring who did absolutely nothing wrong. That's like if your dad's a criminal, you get to go to jail too. It's just crazy. And basically, God punished them by making it hard to grow food, to basically live. And like, that's excessive punishment for eating a freaking fruit. Like, if someone did something relative to that, like, if someone did a parallel to that, the fucking parent would be thrown in jail. They would have their kid taken away. So, yeah. That's... So we're already, like, we're just barely past the beginning of the book. And there's already problems. Like... Jeez. Let me... Gosh. Now I have to find the next... Y'all, I'm not organized. Oh yeah, I actually quoted where, because I also wrote down some of what I just said, but I also written down that Genesis 3:22 actually confirms that the serpent, what he said was true. The man had become like God, knowing good and evil, so at no point was the serpent lying. Like, man. but yeah, like later on, it says like um, later on in Genesis, basically God puts a flaming sword to guard the garden because he doesn't want them to have access to the tree of life. Which basically the tree didn't kill them. So even if you want to say that, like, oh, God saying they will die meant that, God actively made a point to prevent them from having access to the tree of life that would allow them to have that. So they could have eaten from another tree, but God just wouldn't allow it. And so it's not even that the tree had killed them, God killed them by not allowing them to eat from the tree of life. So yeah, that's, and the excessiveness he goes to protect the garden from a man and a woman and maybe their offspring later on is so excessive. It's like, I mean, I kind of just imagine that's like a parent got really pissed off at their kid and threw them out of the house and got like cartoon like high security where it's like anything comes close and you have like a laser going at you. Like, that's the excessiveness I feel like this is. Like, it's like your kid ate a cookie and you kicked them out and got a high-tech security system to make sure they never come back. Like, that is how excessive the punishment that God gives, and honestly, that to me is unethical. So yeah. So next, we're actually diving into the story of Cain and Abel, which most people know. I'm sure some people don't, but anyways, Genesis 4:2-7. Let's see. Later, she gave birth to his brother Abel. Now Abel kept flocks and Cain worked the soil. In the course of time, Cain brought some of the fruits of the soil as an offering to the Lord, and Abel also brought an offering, fat portions from some of the firstborn of his flock. The Lord looked with favor on Abel and his offering, but on Cain and his offering he did not look with favor. So Cain Cain was very angry, and his face was downcast. Then the Lord said to Cain, "Why are you angry? Why is your face downcast? If you do what is right, will you not be accepted? But if you do not do what is right, sin is crouching at your door. It desires to have you, but you must rule over it." Now you might be wondering, because most people know Cain and Abel is kind of the story of the first murder. And you're probably wondering, like, well, Cain just didn't give the right offering. Something to note is that this specifically doesn't, all it says is he brought fruit from his field. Like, he brought the stuff from which he was working. Like, his brother happened to work with the flocks and so could bring meat, but he brought, vegetables. And like, these two should have been equal because they're both fruits of their labor. But God basically went no. And this is also kind of what starts the long craziness of animal sacrifice. Like, because Cain didn't bring meat, and Abel did, and God looked upon Abel with favoritism, and so everyone has just taken that as like, okay, well, we need to offer animals instead of something less harmful, which you would think a perfect God would have the knowledge of animal rights and understand animals have emotions. But, if it'd be understandable if this is supposed to be from humans, but it's supposed to be from God. Humans didn't know about animals having feelings and can feel pain and can suffer, but God is all perfect. He knows everything. He's all good. So, like, if we as humans can't stand to see an animal get killed, like, a lot of people are vegetarians because they don't want to keep killing animals. Shouldn't God have kind of a similar morality? I think it's even worse than eating meat, because at least you're actually, there's a purpose for you killing the animal. For God doesn't need your worship. Like, he's perfect. He doesn't have need for silly stuff like that. Like, so why is it that this perfect God is perfectly fine with animal sacrifice? And I do believe I cover that later on. But basically, God didn't like what Cain brought. It doesn't say anything along the lines of like, oh, Cain brought, he didn't bring the good stuff. No, it just says he brought fruit. Abel brought some good stuff. But Cain just brought what he had, and that should have been good enough. Like, and the time and effort you put into things should have been your sacrifice, not like materials. If you, it really is just like, because giving up your materials like food is going to hurt you, and God shouldn't want to hurt you. You should be able to sacrifice something that's not going to harm you. But, I could go on and on about this, but basically, he pretty much brought equal things, like, as Abel. And instead of trying to explain why what Cain brought was incorrect, or why he did not look in favor of it, he just kind of like antagonizes him. Like he's naturally angry because he's basically been dissed. like you don't like what I have, what I work to bring you? Yeah, of course I'm gonna be mad. Like, it's like a parent making food for their kid, and their kid deciding they don't want it at the last minute. And that's, of course you would be angry. Like, but I feel like you would feel the same way if it was an adult, too. You would probably even be more irritated if it was an adult. You'd be like, oh my god, why are you like this? But there is just... But he just is like, why are you angry? You shouldn't be angry, basically. Like, if you keep being a cranky butt, you're gonna sin. And I personally feel like that antagonization is probably what broke Cain to go kill his brother. So I could honestly interpret this. Now I feel like this is very open to interpretation. You don't have to agree with this, but personally, I feel like God is kind of the one that was the reason for why the murder happened. He was the one that broke this John Campbell's back. Now, not to say that murdering is right or anything, and even if you have justification like this, it's still not right, and should be punished and whatnot. But it like when you're antagonizing, when you're pissing someone off to the point where they break and act in violence, you're kind of part of the problem too. And I think God could have known better. Like, for real. So, yeah, that's how that is. The next one is Genesis 6, 5 through 18. Not 18. Genesis 6, 5 through 8. I told you guys I suck at reading. I'm honestly not going to be surprised if no one actually watches this. But I want this to be out in the world. The Lord saw how great the wickedness of the human race had become on the earth, and that every inclination of the thoughts of the human heart was only evil all the time. The Lord regretted that he had made human beings on the earth, and his heart was deeply troubled. So the Lord said, I will wipe from the face of the earth the human race I have created, and with them the animals, the birds, and the creatures that move along the ground. For I regret that I have made them. But Noah found favor in the eyes of the Lord. So this one, first off, I just want to know what God doesn't exactly explain what is evil. Like, he doesn't give any examples of how every thought is only evil. Like, and the question here I would ask is, are the babies evil? like as a baby sitting there going, "Goo goo gaga, I want to destroy the world." Like, I just, it's just wild. And it just kind of seems like God says they're evil, but then doesn't actually say why they're evil. So So, yeah, that's my main problem. But on top of that, the animals didn't do anything wrong. So God's gonna destroy everything, including the animals, because humans suck. Like, let's assume you're right, God. All humans are evil. But you're going to kill innocent animals. Once again, animal cruelty. And we know this day and age, we know that animal cruelty is wrong. So how is it that a God who is all-knowing is... how is it that he doesn't know that about animal cruelty, it seems? Like, it's kind of messed up, and once again, I'm convinced you can't really convince me that babies are evil. You're basically killing innocent babies. Like, this is a great example of, like, God has no problem killing babies because he does it all the time, including this specific thing. So, yeah, that's... He's killing innocent people. Innocent children who can't really have the capacity for good or evil yet. And animals who definitely didn't do anything wrong. Okay, next one is Genesis 8:20 through 21. Then Noah built an altar to the Lord, and taking some of all the clean animals and clean birds, he sacrificed burnt offerings on it. The Lord smelled the pleasing aroma and said in his heart, "Never again will I curse the ground because of humans, even though every inclination of the human heart is evil from childhood." I'm sorry, I can't take this stuff seriously sometimes. "And never again will I destroy all living creatures as I have done." Oh my God, this is... Oh... Okay, so the smelling of the aroma of the sacrifice is really the closest thing we get to why God wants animal sacrifice. And it's like, bruh, if you wanted something that smells good, just get incense. Like, God is... God's like that guy that's like meat, I smell meat. Where's the meat? Gotta get that hamburger and bacon. Like, just comes running to the kitchen as soon as he smells food cooking. Like, but the thing is, God doesn't eat food, I don't think. Like, I don't think it would be necessary. And he doesn't eat the sacrifices, so all he likes is the smell of cooking food, basically. Of burning flesh. So, yeah, this explanation for why he wants animal sacrifice, kind of not what I would find ethical, because you're making animals suffer so that you can have a nice smell. Also, he restates here that every inclination of the heart is evil, even after the flood. Like, he knows they're going to keep being evil. So what's the point of the flood? And is what he's saying here, is he's saying that, like, we are evil as we are as humans now, because we're not completely evil. We do good things with or without God. And so why is this a thing? Like, it just doesn't make sense. And shoot, I'm being repetitive. I need to stop. He basically is telling us that we are evil as we are now. And so he killed everybody just for it to not do anything. And then he says we're evil from childhood. And, like, I do not believe that. I don't honestly even believe children are evil. They can do pretty nasty deeds, but they can also do good deeds. I've seen a lot of kindness from young children, and, like, I've seen good people in this world, like, and you want me to believe those people are evil? Like, no. And I'm not going to deny that there is definitely evil in this world, but every inclination of the heart being evil, that's just basically telling, like, we're basically children of God. And this is basically God telling his children that you're a piece of shit and you're evil. Like, damn. I'm trying not to cuss as much in this video, but oh well. But yeah, you see the problem with that, I hope. Okay. Next one is Genesis 11, 4 through 8. Oh, I overpassed where it starts, I think. There we go. Then they said, "Come, let us build ourselves a city with a tower that reaches to the heavens, so that we may make a name for ourselves. Otherwise, we will be scattered over the face of the whole earth." But the Lord came down to see the city and the tower the people were building. The Lord said, "If as one people speaking the same language, they have begun to do this, then nothing they plan to do will be impossible for them. Come, let us go down and confuse their language so they will not understand each other." So the Lord scattered them from there over all the earth, and they stopped building the city. Okay, so basically, these people were just trying to make a name for themselves, trying to, be more centralized, basically. Like most cities try to do, which, I mean, it has its pros and cons, but they really wanted something for themselves. And the problem here is that God is, the Lord himself is like, if they can do this, well, look at this, like, nothing will be impossible for them to do if they keep speaking the same language. And basically he went, "No, I don't want you to be able to do anything you want. Like, you shouldn't have that kind of freedom. And so God basically destroyed their hopes and dreams by confusing the languages, which has definitely made things in the world pretty difficult, because language barriers are a pain to deal with. So that's really, that's like destroying a kid's dreams, because you don't want them to be more successful than you, basically, or you don't want them to even come close to being as successful as you are. Like, that's kind of how it is. And you will hear me keep using that as an example, but you'll keep hearing me use that as an example, father and child, or parent and child, just because that's often how we are compared to God. It's like we are children of God. Did I not? Oh, I did. It just, okay. Sorry, getting a little lost in the readings. The next one is Genesis 12 through 18. When the Egyptians see you, they will say, "This is his wife." Then they will kill me, but will let you live. Say you are my sister, so that I will be treated well for your sake, and my life will be spared because of you. When Abram, trying to mix names around. Abram came to Egypt. The Egyptians saw that Sarai was a very beautiful woman, and when Pharaoh's officials saw her, they praised her to Pharaoh, and she was taken into his palace. He treated Abram well for her sake, and Abram acquired sheep and cattle, male and female, donkeys, male and female, servants and camels, but the Lord inflicted serious disease on Pharaoh and his household because of Abram's wife Sarai. So Pharaoh summoned Abram, and "What have you done to me?" he said. "Why didn't you tell me she was your sister? Why didn't you? Oh my God! Why didn't you tell me she was your wife?" And so, basically, what's kind of messed up here is that Pharaoh got punished for being ignorant of Sarai being Abram's wife. Abram lied, but instead of punishing Abram for lying, God punishes Pharaoh, who just didn't know, and would have probably caused a lot less issues had Abram just been honest in the first place. But no, he just had to lie, and it's not fair that Pharaoh basically got punished for something he didn't even know was happening. Like, he didn't know she was he didn't know that she was his wife. Like, how's that fair? How is that just? Anyways, next one is Genesis 19:4 through 13. This is a long one, you guys. Well, not that long, but before they had gone to bed, all men from every part of the city of Sodom, both young and old, surrounded the house. They called to Lot, "Where are the men who came to you tonight? Bring them out to us so that we can have sex with them." Lot went outside to meet them and shut the door behind him and said, "No, my friends, don't do this. Don't do this wicked thing. Look, I have 2 daughters who have never slept with a man. Let me bring them out to you, and you can do what you like with them. But don't do anything to these men, for they have come under the protection of my roof. Get out of our way, Get out of our way," they replied. "The fellow came here as a foreigner, and now he wants to play the judge. We'll treat you worse than them." They kept bringing pressure on Lot and moved forward to break down the door. But the men inside reached out and pulled Lot back into the house and shut the door. Then they struck the men who were at the door of the house, young and old, with blindness, so that they could not find the door. The 2 men said to Lot, Do you have anyone else here, son-in-law, sons or daughters, or anyone else in the city who belongs to you? Get them out of here, because we are going to destroy this place. The outcry to the Lord against its people is so great that he has sent us to destroy it. So basically, this is the story of Sodom and Gomorrah. This is one that is commonly used against, like, homosexuality, but I don't think the problem here is homosexuality, but the problem seems to actually be rape, because the men wanted to, like, have their way with them, and, like, they were willing to be violent about it. Like, they were willing to force themselves on these men, which, for context, the men that were staying with Lot were angels sent by God. So basically, they were trying to rape angels, which, you know, I feel like that's a valid, like, reason to maybe destroy some people. But here's the thing: is they're only talking about men here. Like, they don't say any women, and of course any like young children who don't have sex drive also wouldn't be included in this, like young babies or something like that. So the city basically the city getting destroyed not only killed the rapist but also killed the innocent women, because there is nothing here suggesting that the women were evil. Or, and of course, children are too young to really, you really can't sit here and say children are evil. It's just, we know that. We, like, if a baby cries, it's not evil. It's just crying because it needs something. But, yeah, I have issue with the destruction of the city for the fact that it destroys more than just the rapist. But another problem is and this is my biggest problem with this, honestly. Lot offers his daughters for the men to have their way with. Like, those men were probably being very aggressive. Like, you're gonna hand your daughters over to these aggressive men who are going to probably hurt them in the process. Like, basically, you're gonna force your children to, like, have sex because, like, you want to protect some angels from God who can protect themselves? Excuse me? Like, that's the moral of the story, you guys. Just, you got rapists at your door, offer your daughters. Like, and I just, that did not have to be included, but God included it, which means God is okay with that. Which I think is pretty freaking messed up. So, yeah. Okay, the next one is Genesis 19:31 through 36. Okay. Sorry, y'all. I have to scroll around, and being visually impaired, this is not easy. Okay, there we go. One day, the older daughter said to the younger, "Our father is old, and there is no man around here to give us children, as is the custom all over the earth. Let's get our father to drink wine and then sleep with him and preserve our family line through our father." That night, they got their father to drink wine, and the older daughter went in and slept with him. He was not aware of it when she lay down or when she got up. The next day, the older daughter said to the younger, "Last night I slept with my father. Let's get him to drink again tonight, and you go in and sleep with him so we can preserve our family line through our father." So they got their father to drink wine that night, and the younger daughter went in and slept with him. Again, he was not aware of it when she laid down or when she got up. So both of Lot's daughters became pregnant by their father. Okay, so the issue here is that they basically ended up raping their father, basically. Because at this point in our society, we know, so God, who knows everything, should know that rape is something that can be considered rape is having sex with someone when they are not aware. Like, so yeah, that's kind of disturbing. But not only that, but this is making incest out to be perfectly fine. And God doesn't send any angels to stop them, or like doesn't send any signs to be like, oh look, there are other people here. You just don't realize it. Like or like show them some people. But no, this shows that it is fine for a daughter to sleep with her father. And that's, boy, that's kind of messed up. Like, okay, so the next one is, Genesis 2012. Okay. Besides, she really is my sister and the daughter of my father through not of my mother, and she became my wife. Okay, so this probably requires some explanation. Is that this is Abram kind of explaining himself, I think, to Pharaoh. If I really should have written down the context. But yeah, it's to Pharaoh, but like, explaining, like, I said she was my sister because technically she is. So, and, Abram, of course, ends up becoming, God changes his name later to Abraham, and Sarai to Sarah. We know these as to be like, Father Abraham had many sons. Like, so, we know that, the lineage of the Bible kind of, like, the important lineage specifically comes through him. And he is basically married to his sister, like half-sister. Which nowadays we would realize, oh, that's a little too close in family relations to even have, like, healthy children, which is the same problem I had with the last one. Is like, look, okay, like, you can go around screwing whoever, although father and daughter's really messed up, but like, if brother and sister, I'm like, I can let it slide, but if you have children, like, no. Like, there is something really, basically, genetics make the development of that child not be so great, or the chances of the kid having issues. So we basically have a flawed family line from the get-go, like, both from Abraham and from Lot. So, And God is perfectly fine with this. He doesn't interfere with it whatsoever, which means God is okay with incest. So, yeah, that's that. Next one is Genesis 22, 2 through 12. Then God said, Take your son, your only son, whom you love, Isaac, and go to the region of Moriah, sacrifice him there as a burnt offering on a mountain. I will show you. Early the next morning, Abraham got up and loaded his donkey. He took with him 2 of his servants and his son Isaac. When he had cut enough wood for the burnt offering, he set out for the place God had told him about. On the third day, Abraham looked up and saw the place in the distance. He said to his servants, "Stay here with the donkey while I and the boy go over there. We will worship and then we will come back to you." Abraham took the wood for the burnt offering and placed it on his son Isaac, and he himself carried the fire and the knife as the 2 of them went on together. Oh my God. Y'all, I lost my place again. Okay, there we are. Isaac spoke up and said to his father, Abraham, "Father, yes, my son." Abraham replied, "The fire and wood are here," Isaac said. "But where is the lamb for the burnt offering?" Abraham answered, "God himself will provide the lamb for the burnt offering, my son." And the 2 of them went together. When they reached the place God had told him about, Abraham built an altar there and arranged the wood on it. He bound his son Isaac and laid him on the altar on top of the wood. Then he reached out his hand and took the knife to slay his son. But the angel of the Lord called out to him from heaven, "Abraham, Abraham." "Here I am," he replied. "Do not lay a hand on the boy," he said. Do not do anything to him. Now I know that you fear God, because you have not withheld from me your son, your only son. So, everyone kind of knows this story. I probably could have just summed up the story, but, I want to give exact verses for things. So, first off, I want to point out that, that, yes, it's great that, God or an angel or whatever was like, no, don't actually do it. But the fact that God expects you to be willing to give up your child, to be willing to sacrifice your own child for him, that you should have that much fear of God, that you are willing to give up your own child, because that is the test that God had for him. And if he wouldn't by this logic here, he would not have been rewarded for withholding his son. Like, if he said, no, I love my son and I'm not going to hurt him just to please you. Like, you would think that would be the good thing to do, but no, God wants you to be willing to sacrifice your son or daughter, even if he will stop you. He still wants you to be willing to go that far for him. And that's pretty bad in itself. But on top of that, Abraham was already, he had his son bound, and he, had knife ready to freaking go. Do you know how traumatizing that probably was for Isaac? Whoa. That would have been so traumatizing. Your dad is tying you to this altar to sacrifice you to God. You're about to die at the hands of your own father. And you are bound and you can't do anything about it. That is traumatizing. And, I can tell you, regardless of age, if his son was young at the time this happened, that would be even more traumatizing. But also, even if it's later in life, he's going to have distrust for his father. He's going to have anxiety being around his father, even if he loves him. He's going to be traumatized, and that's something he's going to have to carry with him for the rest of his life. Even if he's maybe a more mentally strong person, that's still something that's going to mentally affect him. And you would think that a good God would not want to traumatize somebody, just as a test for, to test a faith. So even though he didn't kill him, he did hurt him, at least mentally. Because that's how psychology works. We kind of know that. Next one is Genesis 38, 7 through 10. But Judah's firstborn was wicked in the Lord's sight, so the Lord put him to death. Then Judith said to Onan, "Sleep with your brother's wife and fulfill your duty to her as a brother-in-law, to raise up offspring for your brother." But Onan knew that the child would not be his, so whenever he slept with his brother's wife, he spilled his semen on the ground to keep from providing offspring for his brother. What he did was wicked in the Lord's sight, so the Lord put him to death also. My problem with this, boy pulled out, and because that didn't quite, because that wasn't abiding to tradition, God killed him. Imagine God being so mad at you over that he was going to kill you because you pulled out. Like, and it's like, and this is all based on a tradition of like, oh, like, well, this brother didn't get to have children, so, but his wife is still here. One of his brothers can basically have children for him, even though that's not genetically how that works, but, you know, I guess close enough. You know, I find this one hilarious because it's like, boy pulled out and God got pissed. Like, wow. Like, that is really something else. Anyways, that is actually the end of the Genesis. I hope you all enjoyed this, even though I suck at reading, and I do hope to upload more in the future. And I appreciate anybody who has sat through all of this, and I hope this has been insightful. Once again, you can disagree with what I have to say on the matter, but I just think it's important for different voices to be heard, and I'm a different voice, so. But yeah, thank you for watching, and have a great day, y'all.